Hey, what's up, you wrestling junkies? Today you're listening to the True Wrestling Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Today you'll be hearing Jamie and my dad talk about the Keystone Classic. Do you like my background music? Leave a like on this podcast if you like it.
I'm here with my main man. Oh, that sounds too much like, what's his name on Flow?
Flo and Willie and Christian.
Here's my buddy Jamie, and True Mike here. Before we get busy, I just wanted to thank my sponsors, Soupless. You can see we're shooting one of my dummies in my workout area, and Adidas. Both companies have been really good to me and really good to the sport. Thanks, guys. We hope to have a whole bunch of highlights up of the Keystone Classic. I think Jamie and I shot close to 100 videos, and I've been editing the crap out of them for the last 24 hours. So you can check for those on the website. How you doing, Jamie?
Good. Great weekend. A lot of good wrestling. Obviously, Penn State was the team everyone was there to see, and they were pretty dominant in 90% of the weight classes.
Absolutely. You could see, I mean, it was their biggest competition was themselves, and 25 is a hole for them right now. Schnupp didn't place, did he?
No.
Yeah, didn't even place.
Did not make top 6.
And we're getting ahead of ourselves. Coach Sanderson told me that Teskey isn't really banged up as much as he's coming back from a knee infection. And apparently the news broke about Teasdale. So 25 is going to be a tough weight for them. Coach Sanderson said Teskey would be back. Of course, that's also coach speak for no timeline.
But they don't need it. The question is, to win the national title this year, they can do it without 25. The question is, do they need to wrestle one of these guys for the long-term future of fitting in all the recruits in red shirts and all that stuff? Do they need Teskey to go this year so that you don't have one more red shirt bottlenecking in the next couple years with the recruits coming in? Totally
agree. I think they're one national champ better than the second place team as far as points go, but things can change. With the addition of Gable Stevenson, that might take some points away from Iowa. On the other hand, Kasser looked really solid.
He's definitely finalist capable. Rashid is looking good. Like, he's going to be top 4, top 2 potential at 84. I mean, they could end up with more guys in the finals than 2 years ago.
They could.
I don't expect them to win as many, but they could easily have more in the finals.
Yeah. Just a couple things I wanted to talk about, like an overview of the tournament. Thing that drives me crazy is inconsistent calls. So people calling hands to the face like it's going out of style, and then if you watch the Vercleren-Berge match, Vercleren hits Berge's head 50 times, no joke, and not one call. And some of them were not in the hair, not collar ties. They were low forehead.
I didn't see a ton on my mats, but there were a couple, and there was even one where this was the argument people were worried about, where the kid's like, he ducked his head into it. I go to tap him on top of his head, he turns his head, or I go for the shoulder and he leans into it, and the ref didn't have any of it. I also heard a match where the ref was like, you're both in the face, stop it, and it was just a verbal warning.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think the referees are trying to feel this one out, and we'll see how it goes. The other one that was driving me crazy was there was a number of freestyle quick pins, touch falls, and then there were just also ones that, I mean, I was watching, I was there, and it took 20 seconds. It was like a youth wrestling tournament. The referee was letting that thing go for as long as possible, and I hate that inconsistency.
I saw a lot of the quick ones where I'm like, either the pinning area is different for college. Obviously, the time is only 1 second, I think, versus 2. But, man, a couple of those seem really fast.
So those are the two things that really stuck out to me. Hands to the face inconsistency, especially from previous weeks, and then also just what is a pin. Another one was a bunch of kids were tight waisting, and the guys that were wrestling were like, it's a tight waist, and the referees were just inconsistent about it. A couple other things. Drexel to me looked like they got a young team. They graduated a lot of seniors last year. but they looked mentally tough at a number of weights, even when the kid wasn't, in the finals. And they had their best classic ever. They had 5 boys in the finals, but even kids who didn't make it to the finals just looked really hard-nosed to me. I don't know if it was competition, but I enjoyed seeing that. And the other thing, I don't know if you have anything to say about that.
Well, Drexel, like you said, they got second place. They had 5 seconds, 1/3, 1/4. So 7 placers puts them up there. Looks like Penn might have had more, but they were on the back end of the podium.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, they put 7 guys in the top 4. I mean, that's more than half their lineup, and half their lineup was in the finals.
Yeah, so that was that's pretty good for them. That's the most amount of people they've ever put in the finals, and their highest placing at this tournament. And just behind them was Penn. I'm not sure the last time Penn finished top 3 at the Classic. It has to be a few years ago. At the very most recent, they had a couple guys we'll cover, but that's it's pretty good to see Penn. They got a lot of young talent, and Coach Rena and Pearsall and Pammy. I'm leaving somebody else out besides the Regional Training Center guys, but they're recruiting the crap out of it right now, and they got some tough kids in there.
They seem to have a log jam at the bottom. They got a lot of little
Lightweights.
25-33s
Yep.
that appear to, you would have thought would have been at, all of them could have been at 25. Some might be wrestling up while they're working their way into the college system. But yeah, I mean, they ended up with 9 placers. And App State down there had 10. They
That's
had
it.
4th place. They had 10 kids medal.
They wrestled hard. I liked I don't think they had as much technique as some of the 3 teams we already mentioned, but they wrestled hard and they brought it. And if you weren't ready for them, they were going to bring it to you. This guy got knocked out of the tournament, but I got to see at least 1, maybe 2 of his matches. Swinson Barr. This kid was a beast. He had some of the nastiest mat returns I have seen. Now, I think he got knocked out from a slam that he experienced. Was that in the Tropea match in the semifinals?
Semis.
But no one's going to want to wrestle him and Clothier. These guys will bring it, and they weren't the only ones. So keep an eye out for App State. They're under the radar. They're down south. Is it Knoxville?
I'm not sure. Yeah.
But the coach, I talked to a couple of their coaches. They have been steadily getting better, and I think they bringing home some hardware in the SoCon, and I also think that I think they've had Coach of the Year a couple times in a row, and I know they're building a new facility, and we're going to have an interview with them coming up hopefully in the next week or 2 to see what's going on down there and down south, out of the purview of the magnifying glass in Pennsylvania, Iowa.
Yeah, we'll get to it later, but they may have to work on some cradle defense.
They may. So starting off at 125, it wasn't the deepest weight, but there was some talent on display here. Tropea ended up winning it from Ryder, and he beat Ferranti from Penn. And Tropea looks solid. He's a junior. I thought he was younger. I thought he was a sophomore, but he couldn't get past Wirt the last couple years in the Ryder lineup. He looks solid all the way through the Princeton Open. He's got some great neutral attacks. Jamie and I were talking about it. This kid's cutting weight, obviously. He is ripped.
He's lean. Very lean.
Bonus pointed in the semis, in the opening match, I think.
Yep.
And then a little closer, regular decision. He had a medical forfeit with the slam, I guess, and it wasn't called a slam, and I didn't see it, so I don't want to call it a slam, but there was a hard return or something on the App State guy, and then he beat the Penn wrestler. A little bit close, tough, early opening round or period, and then his neutral game just seemed to separate the 2 of them.
Yeah, he definitely was able to get the takedown when he needed it. I think he struggles on bottom a little bit. Once he got that escape and get to his feet, he definitely was more comfortable.
I'm looking forward to 1, watching this guy this year, and 2, talking to him. He wouldn't let me interview him. But Penn, we talked about a logjam of talent at the bottom of their lineup. they got state champions who might not be in the lineup this year. Looking forward to see what Ferrante does. And then, Drexel's Monino, tough kid. He wrestled really hard. He placed third. He had to come through the wrestlebacks. I liked watching him in the opening match against the App State guy. I'm not sure where he's going to fall in their lineup, but I just liked his mentality. The one thing I'll say is he needs to learn how to do a standing Granby, or when the guy's mat returning him. I think he got hip-popped mat returned by Swanson Bar 20, 30 times and never hit a standing Granby. Get that? You got that, Coach Azevedo?
There's a couple guys that need to clean up their standing Granby because I thought they were going to break their necks. I saw a couple guys not tucking or
land hard, right?
Yeah.
Right. It was that was pretty crazy. I saw a few of those myself. As far as Schnupp goes from Penn State, the kid, I've heard he works hard in the room, but he does not have, maybe, I don't know if it's a strength to compete at this level. He's got some good technique. The length that he has can present a problem, but he's just not using it right now.
I mean, he lost this Swanson Bar from App State 6-4, and I believe the takedown was at the buzzer. At the very end.
And I think Swanson Bar would have given Tropea a bit of a match. No one's going to want to wrestle that guy. Write his name down. He's going to be a pain in the butt. No one's going to want that kid in March in Pittsburgh. That's all I'm saying. And we already covered Teskey. He's coming back from a knee infection. Coach told me no timeline, but it made it sound like he was on his way back. So, I would be curious to see if they do pull his shirt and put him in the lineup, or with Busiello out of the mix, if they let him just shirt a year because they don't need the points. It's a fun position for the staff to be in, to not have a make it or break it deal here, and it gives them some space.
Well, if they keep him in red shirt, they have Bucknell on the 30th that should be winnable without it. Lehigh on the 2nd, Arizona State the 14th. All that is what they finish the year out before they go to the Southern Scuffle, where he can still compete unattached.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Well,
none of those matches are going to be in question, so they clearly can wait. They don't have to make the decision now. They can go with Schnupp the whole time and just play it by ear.
All right, going on to 133. This was, I've been waiting for this. I've been trying to talk to Roman Bravo Young. I like the way this guy wrestles. It's hard to see him on the East Coast, being out there. Everybody who grows up in high school on the west of the Rockies, they consider themselves out there an Ice Station Zebra, their own little club. And watching RBY wrestle was just a treat. He is a goer, right?
I think it's going to be Coach Bravo Young, because I swear he sat in the corner for practically every other kid on the team with one of the assistants.
Totally.
He's got a leadership presence about him as being a true freshman, but he's right there. He was there with Nolf and Chenzo getting the trophy at the end. They put him in the middle. He was holding the trophy. So he's got some attributes, qualities about him that he's all in on the team, and he's right in the mix of it, like playing a leadership role for those little guys or lightweights.
You touched on it. His mentality is, he's a senior mentally. Now, there's stuff for him to work on. We saw, some of his ground game is going to need, the positions are going to need some adjustment. He's not at the right angles maybe on the top position sometimes. On bottom, he's going to have to seal a little bit. But this kid is, he's got the mental maturity, and he's going tough. I had a good talk with him afterwards. You can catch that online. He's driven. I love seeing it. True freshman coming in there and just, coming in and pushing the pace. He's got Nolf's pace push. He's got just a tremendous mental game. I just enjoyed talking to him, watching him. All the way into the finals, he met up with Olsen then, and it took him a little bit of time to Olsen's a tough kid in his own right, and I like the way he was hard-nosed, but he and Young are just in a different class of skill right now. And I'm looking forward to watching both of them. I'm closer to Drexel, and I'll see him a few more times. Looking forward to that. But RBY was just a stud, and looking forward to him, man.
Yeah, he looked good. Again, not the high-level talent that is in 133 nationally this year, so he needs to be winning these matches, beating these kids that he's supposed to beat, because it's gonna get harder. Looking ahead again, I don't know who Bucknell's got at 33, but he's got two-time All-American Scotty Parker waiting for him in about a week.
I'm guessing Parker's going to be out, and I think he's going to be having Peitzel.
Oh.
I think Parker's going to be out for a while, but he's still going to have a tough go of it. Arizona State, and then Scuffle. He's going to be tested. Penn State will be tested. They don't have Iowa, unfortunately. Coach Brands, this is a wrestling crime. Make it happen. But the one thing so he will have some good tests coming up, depending on who is hurt and who's in the lineup. But we know that Penn State guys do get better in the room all season, and that's a big deal because there's a lot of places that doesn't happen. So looking forward to it. 133, if no one gets hurt, is a murderer's row. I mean, you've got returning national champ, returning national finalist. Then you have two new guys, Fix and Suriano. This could, if everybody stays healthy and stays at that weight, this could be one of the best weights where, I'm picking against the returning national champion not to even get to the finals possibly. That sounds crazy.
The weight's loaded. I mean, and you almost wonder, is some of these guys going up a Spencer Lee effect, or is it they just grown and they're ready to move? I mean, who's at Minnesota? He needed to grow. Lezak had to go up. He was getting bigger. There's still some rumors that did Suriano certify at 25? Will he go down? Same with Fix. Obviously, Fix was at 57 kilos not long ago, so you would think his cert would have been in the area of 25 as well. Are some of these guys going to kind of gradually work their way, or are they all just going to give Spencer the weight?
Yeah, I mean, Suriano and Fix both have wins over Lee in the past. But, anyway, I would love to see a super match, but just saying 33 is going to be tough, even if one of those guys does drop down. And we'll see. The measuring stick that other tough freshmen may measure Penn State's going in as a true freshman is how well RBY does growing into that weight. Because if he All-Americans at 133 this year as a true freshman
with that loaded weight, that says a lot.
It's going to say something about Casey.
Expectations, future.
Yeah. It's not just the heavyweights, the big guys who are getting it done. Moving up to 141. The one seed was Nick Lee. We had Josh Feinsover from Duke coming in at the 2 seed. Lee came in. Lee started as a true freshman last year, All-American, and had a real pace from neutral. His ground game may not have been as polished. The matches I saw, even his neutral game, it's early in the season for him. He was not surgical in his attacks, but his cardio is never going to be questioned. This kid goes. I like his mentality. I talked to him a couple times during the day. I love the angles this guy gets at. Now, some of the other parts of his game at the Classic may have been a little sloppy, where his hand position was, where his head position was. He may have also been testing himself out, putting himself in some funky positions, just seeing if he can work through it. Because I know those guys, a lot of guys do that in that room, put themselves in some crazy positions. Jamie, what'd you see?
Yeah, he wasn't really tested. I mean, he went tech fall, pin, tech fall to get to the finals, and then Fine Silver slowed him down a little bit, kept him to a major. I think he might have had a reversal or a takedown in there that kind of made it appear slightly closer than it was. But if he's going to want to stay, 41's not 33, but it's still pretty full with Yanni, Brock. There's a few guys in there that are, McKenna. They're Ironman. There's still a bunch of guys there, so if he wants to get top 5 again, he's going to have to maybe step up his game a little bit because Fine Silver is no slouch, and I, be honest, couldn't tell you the difference between any of them as far as ranking wise because there's 4 of them. But
Team Duke, Team Fine Silver.
Yeah.
I think he's probably on the bubble of being top 20 right now, but I think based on his performance, he's got to be a top 15 kid right now, and he's a sophomore, just like Lee Fine Silver, and it was fun watching him wrestle during the match or during the tournament. Lee, I think, was a little close with in the finals. Lee and Fine Silver, and then I think Lee's pace just overwhelmed Fine Silver a little bit. It was not surgical again, but the pace will break you down, and if you're not ready for it, there's another match we'll talk about where the Penn State pace can just break some quality kids. But yeah, all the Fine Silvers were tough. Josh was tough going through the bracket. If I had reading glasses, I could tell you what he did. I think he won close a couple matches, but when I watched the App State match with
Enriquez, 2-0, Fine Silver 1. And
he has the mental game to go along with some physicality. And when the kid has that mental game, he had to grow up surviving. 4 brothers at least that were just, we talked after the tournament. I mean, they were putting holes in the walls. Dad was pissed, but it didn't stop him. So I like the mental game. Keep an eye on those guys. Everybody laughs about Duke being Team Fine Silver, but is it Latham as the coach? They've got a good core down there. I didn't get to talk to the coach, but I'm hoping to. And it was pretty much I don't want to say it was a 2-man bracket, but who came in? Enriquez came in from App State again. He
got 3rd. He beat his own teammate for 3rd. And then Penn guys battled for 5th and 6th.
That's it. And App State, again, we've talked about, they've got a hungry attitude. They're not just, they're physical and they're goers. So I liked it. Liked watching that. And let's move on to 149. We got some painters in the background banging. But Penn State, this was a little bit of a wrestle-off for Penn State. And they also had the highest-ranked non-Penn State competitor here. We had Matt Fine Silver came in as number 1, Verclearen was 2, and Berge was 3 seed. And in both wrestle-off scenario for Penn State here and at heavyweight, the Penn State guys were on the same side of the bracket. Thoughts, Jamie?
Yeah, I mean, Fine Silver had a couple close ones. He barely beat Gardner from Penn State, who was impressive all tournament. He beat him 4-0 first round. And then Tech Fall, and then he had another tough one with Arnalona, who's a strong freshman for Penn.
Yep.
And then he gets the medical forfeit in the finals. But
yeah, I watched the Gardner match opening round, and it was 2-0, I think, with maybe 15, 20 seconds left in the match. You guys can find that on the website. So if Gardner is, maybe the 3rd best Penn State wrestler at that weight class, I would have really liked to see the Berge match in the finals. Now, whether it's true or not, because, we're talking to Kale, Belichick, Sanderson sometimes, it was a precautionary, pull. Berge got hurt in the Verclearen match in the semifinals. Verclearen doesn't look like a huge 49-pounder to me. He looked strong and physical, but they didn't let Berge compete in the finals, and we got the sense that he could have gone because he finished up the Verclearen match after stopping, but it's early and no one cares.
And he wanted the buzzer on what was, you were talking about hands to the face. Last year's official rule change was the danger zone, and that's how Berge won. He had Verclearen doing a leg pass, and he held him in the danger zone, got the buzzer. Penn State actually, I don't know if the team challenged it or the official wanted to look at it on their own. Some of the officials were doing that. They went to a review. Both coaches were on the mat with both kids, and it came back. They held it up, and he got the takedown at the buzzer to win 3-2.
Yeah, so up until that point, nobody from Penn State was in the corner of either guy. They just sort of wanted these guys to work it out in the semifinals on their own. And when Bergie tweaked his knee, that's when everybody kind of came over and hung out for the rest of the match. Verclaren, to me, he was probably the lone Penn State guy to lose this, to a non-Penn State guy. So he lost to Artelona in the consolation fourth place match. He looked strong and looked like he had maybe a better game plan initially for the Bergie match than maybe Bergie did. He was frustrating Bergie with constant taps to the forehead and then shooting off of Bergie clear in that hand. It was real interesting. Breaking position, getting tall, but clearly they've seen each other a ton in the room, and I thought there would be a little more separation by Bergie during that match, but Verclaren came in with a clear plan, and when Bergie took the injury time for the knee, Verclaren was able to capitalize by taking down, getting the extra escape point to be up 2-1 at the end of the match, and then Bergie was able to push that pace and end up getting the neutral zone points.
Yep.
So that's going to be a dogfight, and I'm sure it's not over. I'm sure we're going to see these guys at the scuffle.
Yeah,
right?
there are no red shirts for either of them. They're already gone, so there's nothing to hold back. They're both going to be. They might split matches for a while and do like 97 last year, and they alternate every weekend and see who goes at the end of the year.
Yeah. So to me, one thing that looked clear was Verclaren has his weight under control, and and sometimes, at least for this event, and he has no secret that he's got diabetes, and that can really wreak havoc on a guy or anybody, a wrestler or not, on their diet, especially if you're not cutting weight right as a wrestler. So I've seen it affect his cardio, and I didn't see that this time at all. And I did not see the third place match, though, with Artelona.
It was a good match. I saw some of it from a distance. It went overtime. I'm just trying to see. It looked like it was, from the score, it was like literally overtime number 7, where he gave up a takedown in, I think, what would be the second on your feet sudden victory period. And he was clearly upset with, looked like the whole world after he lost in the semis. He was definitely upset after that match. But good show. Artelona is a strong freshman. He was a blue chip recruit, so not the worst loss in the world. And again, he was real close with Bergie.
Totally. Artelona looked really good during the 2 matches I saw, and he wants it. He's got a mental game that he's tough, and Penn does have this. There's a lot of guys there at those lower weights, and we'll see how that settles out. I'm looking forward to watching that. Even though we would have liked to see the Bergie Fine-Silver match, I think Fine-Silver came in around number 10. I hate to extrapolate. You never know, how things work. But, Gardner gave him a really tough match. And I'm not sure what he looks like with Verclaren and Bergie. But I'm guessing Bergie or Verclaren, they got to be a top 10 kid right now based on how they looked. And I'm looking for, Penn State, thinking they're going to score points at nationals at this weight for sure.
Yeah, 49 cleared out. I mean, it's kind of weird. You would have thought the last couple of years people would be moving up and down to Doug Zane, and now, whatever reason, whether it's just seniors or not, 49 has just cleared out. I mean, you have practically a lot of new faces in there that you could go 2 through 8, and any one of them could easily be in the finals.
Absolutely. Yeah, we lost a lot of All-Americans there. I think 6 All-Americans, if I'm not mistaken, and a national champ. Was it Jordan? Anyway, I'm not going to go into that. Let's get back onto the classic. 157. Jason Nolf was the 1 seed, and he's always worth the price of admission. Last time, I saw him, he had a giant brace on his leg and won on fundamentals at the NCAA championships. I saw earlier in the season that he was not wearing it. I don't know where it was that they wrestled.
Kent State,
right? And I just wasn't sure what that was. If he ended up having surgery after the season or it healed on his own. He's a national treasure, and I'm glad his knee is okay.
And I guess he doesn't want to keep his knee warm like some other people.
Right, like some other people. Yeah. A little inside joke.
He pinned his way. I mean, he had 4 matches, 3 pins. The one that wasn't was to former teammate Gary Dinmore, Ryder. He only measured him by 12 points, but he pinned the rest. Some of them seemed to be when he wanted to. Some of them when it just happened to be there. He took it and stuck them. He just was kind of businesslike, got it done, and moved on.
The thing that Nolf is opening the door to is that right now, the biggest difference in all the wrestlers in college for the last few years from everybody before them is the amount of scouting that can be done. Everybody knows what everybody's doing. You can go on Track. You can go on Flow. You can go, I think even the Open Mat is streaming things. You can go on True Wrestling and see what people are doing. And Nolf is just out there experimenting. And it's genius. It's like watching a jazz virtuoso just going freeform. He's experimenting in every position. The Dinmore match, there were spots where Dinmore had position on him and Nolf just let it happen. And then a lot of the Penn State guys, they'll let a guy kind of apply pressure and then they'll just do a dynamic explosion and get out of it. And they try a move that they may have done before, but may not have done, it looks like. And Nolf is, you can just watch. He kept pushing Dinmore. Dinmore was exhausted. And Dinmore's a good wrestler, and he spent at least a year in that room, maybe 2. And Nolf just broke him. Dinmore put up a fight, but at the end of the match, because he was exhausted, I don't see anybody touching Nolf injury-free this year, even with an injury. I mean, he was able to, what was the kid from Iowa, from Pennsylvania?
Kemmerer, he beat down.
Right.
Then he had a couple close ones coming through nationals, just not putting himself in any danger. And then beat Hidlay in the finals seemingly pretty easily.
Yep.
But he just is head and shoulders above the crowd. And again, barring injury, there's no reason why he doesn't get number 3.
Right, he's got the Quan, as they said in whatever that Tom Cruise movie is. But he's got the mental game, he's got the physical game, he's got the technique, he's got the confidence, and he's got the imagination. And the athleticism plus the imagination, I think he's inspiring an entire generation of youth wrestlers to do stuff that is going to be looked at as a fundamental technique and good position a generation from now, but right now is not. So, the good things watching Nolf, like I said, worth the price of admissions. Sometimes if you watch the angle of his attack, it's one of the most creative angle thing. He'll just go from angles that no one else in the country goes from. And I just love watching it as a fan, but even as a coach. And when I sometimes show that stuff to advanced youth kids, they look at me like I'm absolutely crazy because they don't get that when they're at whatever good club they normally go to.
And he's not afraid to try something. And somebody shot in on him and left their head up, and he went for a lefty headlock that he pulled from... It was like from out of 4 rows back in the stands where he reached back for that headlock. And he just swung and missed. Totally swung and missed.
Freestyle slip.
Yeah, went right down to his knees, right down to his hands and knees. Okay, no big deal. I'll stand up and get back up and try something else. Just didn't care. Wasn't fazed by it in the least.
Absolutely. I talk about this when I coach kids, football, wrestling, anything. Nolf has no fear and no doubt. When he goes, he expects it to work, and he never doubts himself. And guys, that's the number one thing in everything in life. Push the fear and the doubt out, and Nolf has mastered that. Man, I dig that cat. Dig him. He wouldn't talk to me after the match. He said he didn't have anything to say. Anyway, moving on to 165. We had Vincenzo Joseph. He bonused his way, through the tournament. Again, another guy worth the price of admissions. I love watching him. There's no secret. He's maybe, I don't know what it is about him, but he's my favorite wrestler in college. Mental strength, crazy technique. Not afraid to go high, not afraid to go low. I saw a couple of inside steps that didn't happen. Mostly everything was below the waist for his attacks.
He's one of those guys that he'll do something and he makes it look so easy. It almost people think he's lackadaisical or it's so nonchalant that he's just so crisp about his technique, and it looks too easy, and it almost looks like uninterested, uninspired, but it's well done. He can just hit that stuff.
Dynamic, strong hips, strong shoulders. If you didn't know his name and you saw him on some foreign feed, I'd swear he was coached by a Russian. His style does not look American, but
about Japanese.
Maybe Japanese.
Sonny Abe was his high school coach.
Yeah, this is true. So he's got that relaxed style where he comes forward and his weight is in a different position on his foot than most people. And he is when he makes a mistake, he can drop the hammer of his hips. Just always love watching him. The last two finals, going in and beating Aymar, he could end up going out, in 2 years. People say he's not the favorite this year. His mind is tough. I'll never bet against this guy, and I love watching him.
Yeah, a lot of people. He's got a better chance of winning the next two nationals than he does going undefeated, because he'll drop a match here or there. Doesn't ever seem to faze him, but where it counts, he hasn't lost. So come NCAAs, he's 10-0 or whatever he's wrestled, and he gets it done. It just the ice in the veins. Those matches hasn't been favored, hasn't been the highest seed, but he's won 2 for 2.
Talk about pushing the fear and the doubt out mentally. That cat can control his mind and come up big, which, kids, if you're listening, you don't come up big in a big match most of the time unless you do it hard in practice. And, steel sharpens steel. I've talked to him in the past. He goes upper body all the way through bow nickel when he's doing those inside trips. So it surprises him if someone catches him in a match and he just shrugs it off like it's an accident. Love watching him. Good stuff. Someone who I really liked watching besides him in the tournament was Ed Jarrell from Drexel. I got to watch him a little bit last year. I feel like he made a leap this year. Could have been competition, but this kid's mentally tough. He's a goer. I think he got, was it
second?
Was it teched in the finals?
20-5.
20. He got teched in the finals, but he didn't leave anything out there. Now, he was banged up. He hurt his knee in the finals, and after the match, he was really wrapped up in ice. But he went through, and he went big. He reminded me, first of all, this guy's a walk-on at Drexel, got into Drexel, called Coach Azevedo like, I'm coming out for the team, and I just liked his grit. He's got a tough mindset. I think he opened up with a fall and then maybe a bonus point win. I just liked him. He was hard-nosed, pushed the pace, and just someone to keep an eye on. I don't think he's ranked, and I'm just gonna say this kid's going to be. I don't think kids are gonna want to wrestle this guy, especially if he's not injured. And it didn't look like it was serious, but he was wrapped in a lot of ice. This guy's a goer.
Yeah, Vincenzo put a kind of a beating on him, and like you said, he was hurt, so I think his leg kept him down on the mat for a while, and Vincenzo was just squeezing his ribs with some of his tight waist and some of that stuff.
Yeah.
You could just see some of the facial expressions that he wasn't quitting, but he was ready to be done.
Yeah. And that's what, when you are a good wrestler or a really good wrestler and you come up against someone who is great, it can be eye-opening sometimes, the difference in that level. So keep your eye out on Jarrell, but Joseph is just a stud all the way around. Moving up to 74, Mark Hall came in, number 1 seed. Fine Silver from Duke was the 2 seed. Sherry from Ryder, who I also liked last year, was the 3 seed. VMI Richards, I think, was 4 seed. Hall, I didn't see all of his matches. Hall looked the least energized of the guys from the Penn State crowd. He was doing some stuff out of position. He may have just been experimenting. You saw him, I think, more than I did, Jamie. What do you think?
He looked uninspired, like you said. I mean, he was practically standing straight up in a couple matches, letting guys get to legs, use his awesome hips to kind of fend him off. But, I mean, he had a 5-0 match in the semis and a 6-4 in the finals. I mean, he just didn't seem to be all that interested. And like you said, maybe he's experimenting. Maybe he's just kind of going through the motions, letting some things play out. But not, I mean, granted he won, but was not the dominating national finalist type of performance you would expect.
Yeah, I talked to him afterwards. You know, I got the feeling that maybe he has processed the Valencia loss. Maybe he hasn't. I've talked to Mark Hall on and off for several years now. I like that cat. I like his mindset. I like his style. Part of it may be that he, you know, there's some mental stuff there. And you can see the interview. He's a little subdued. You know, winning the Classic is not, you know, it's November. It's not something you got to be pumped up over. But he was pretty subdued and introspective. And, yeah, I think a little bit is that some of the guys are also aware of his counterattacks. And, you know, he used to have, I think, some better leg attacks and then fell in love maybe with his counters. And, you know, he'll wait in some of those cement positions, and if someone relaxes, he's going to make you pay. But some of the guys aren't getting into that position, or they're bellying down, or they're peeking out, or they're backing out, so he can't hit him with cement or gator or whatever you want to call him. Hoping that he is just taking it easy early in the season and, you know, getting more intense as the season goes on.
He's got 2 big ones coming up. I mean, with Lehigh and Arizona State, those he's got a tough end of the calendar year.
It's going to be tough for him. So last year, Cutler was I think it was a 1-point
Super
match.
Duck takedown to win it.
Was it 3-1 or 3-2? I can't remember.
3-2.
3-2 against Cutler. So Cutler, he's got a good game plan. He's got that long, strong torso. Cutler is one of the strongest 74-pounders. And then, you know, Valencia, shit.
That's going to be, he's got his hands full.
Yeah.
I mean, Valencia has bumped up once or twice so far this year, wrestling 84, kind of helping the team, filling a gap. But I don't think he would bump up against Hall. I think he's going to want that match, unless he ultimately plans on going up for the rest of the year, which there's no signs of.
Yeah, I can't imagine that, but you never know what would happen there. Let's see. So Fine Silver, you know, Dean Sherry from Ryder. You know, last year I was impressed with him. That could have been early in the season, maybe not 100%. Fine Silver beat him in a close match. 1 point, I believe. I can't actually read it.
5-4 semi.
You know, I think both of those guys, they've got talent, and if they apply themselves, now Sherry fell all the way down to 6th place. I didn't see if he was banged up, and he, I think, finished behind another guy from Ryder. But I'm just hoping it was early in the season, or Ryder's got another stud waiting in the wings who's going to push him. Fine Silver, just another, you know, a pretty tough out here for Duke, and you know, keep an eye out for him as well. Going up to 184, or in Rashid's case, coming down to 184. He came in as a 1 seed. Clothier from App State came as a 2. Shaq looked great, all bonus. Looked big for the weight. You know, worth the price of admission. love watching that guy wrestle.
Yeah, I mean, he looked awesome, like you said. He looked big, but yet he's still ripped. He's got, I mean, he's so long. I mean, he just has, like, that wingspan. I mean, that you can see why he's cradling everybody up when he wants to. 4 falls, 3 of them. First period, practically under a minute. He looks like finalist potential at 84. I mean, outside of Miles Martin, I don't know who else is going to beat this guy.
Yeah, he's athletic. He's also aggressive. He's only got, to me, I've only seen one real weakness in the guy's game in the last year, and that is really like his low single defense. If you're shooting on him below his knee, he just has a hard time getting that low. On the other hand, he can reach all the way around you to put you in a cradle from not a normal cradle position. So when you're thinking you're going to get a crossface fatal, you're going to feel it on your face. He doesn't wrap it up that way sometimes. He's not punching you. He just reaches over, grabs your tricep, and you're still loose before you realize what the heck happened.
And he's not afraid to roll it through, go suicide style with it. He did that at least once. But he just, like you said, with that length, he'll get that near side hook with the ankle, put the crossface on, and then he just starts banging at your knee with that other arm. He's just banging at it. It's like, okay, I'm going to knock it out. And if I need to, and he's not even running the head to the knee, he just kind of can connect it.
Yeah, it's insane. He doesn't have to walk the leg up nearly as far as Jamie was saying. He can get that thing locked with the knee only at like 40 degrees. It's just crazy. I wonder what his positive reach is. I'm guessing it's 4 inches versus his height. It's just insane how long his arms are. The great thing about that Penn State has going for him is, even though there's a bunch of competition in that room, he was just saying how good of buddies him and Kasser are. And you get that sense from most of the guys in the room. So, it's a brotherhood.
Yeah, I mean, and they're loose. I mean, did you see their little handshake after the match?
I didn't.
It was like fist bump, handshake, tap back of the hand. Like, must have been like 2 minutes long, and they finally were done with a chest bump or something.
Just 2 of the more expressive, guys in that Penn State lineup. Some of those guys come off, and it's not machine-like because they got deep passion, but some of them, Nickel after a national championship, he'll get pumped up, but other times you're just wondering,
their pulse is pretty low.
Pretty low pulse, it looks like. So he looks solid, and he's looking like, he is putting himself in contention. I don't know what his ranking is, but I got to see him as a top 2 guy.
I think he's 5 right now, last I had heard, but yeah, he's going to creep up there. He's going to be, I don't see many others. I think he could be Martin. I mean, Martin definitely is now been unstoppable, but 84 cleared out. With Nickel going up, a lot of other people graduating. I easily could see him in the finals.
Me too. And that'll be an interesting match if that materializes. Clothier from App State. I got to see 2 of his matches besides the finals, and even though Rashid pinned him, I'm not sure he'd ever seen a cradle thrown like that, right? It was the far side cradle that he got, or not?
I'm pretty sure I didn't see him hit anything else.
But he was competitive, and he looks tough. He beat a kid from Ryder that I think can take almost anybody down, MFD, but he was really banged up. Actually, I think the Harvard kid beat. So MFD from Ryder, both elbows are taped up. He looks like Mauro Correnti from last year, and maybe he's got a broken finger. If that kid ever got his cardio right and his desire, this kid can hit doubles from anywhere. But Clothier is going to be one of those kids, one of those wrestlers, come NCAAs, don't be surprised if he knocks somebody off in the first round. Athletic, strong, and he was not afraid to compete. So I like that. Liked watching that guy. Going up to 97. First time I've seen. Do you have anything else on 84?
No.
First,
the Rashid show.
The Rashid show, exactly. First time I got to see Nickel up at 97. he was all bonus as well. The thing that that people were talking about was his cardio going to be okay. I didn't see any trouble with that. He pushed the pace. He looked a little nullfish in that he was just making things up sometimes in a scramble. Maybe he had done them in practice, maybe not. But the key that Nickel is incredible at is when he's in a bad position, he'll wait. And David Taylor used to do this. He'll wait a little bit for the guy just to relax, and then he explodes. And there's just no stopping him all the way through the finals. If you watch the finals tape with Stakes Loasu in legs, he had some pressure on Nickel, and then Nickel just waited a couple seconds and blew him off. It was, it's a great technique and mindset to stay calm and then explode.
Yeah, I mean, his cardio is not going to be an issue if he doesn't have to wrestle 7 minutes. I mean, he had a 37-second pin and a minute 1:35 pin to get to the finals. So the guy didn't wrestle 2 minutes until the finals. So from 7 in the morning, wrestling started at 8 o'clock or whatever. Right. He didn't wrestle 2 minutes until the finals.
Until the finals, yeah.
So 5 o'clock at night or 6 o'clock.
The competition may not have been as strong getting into the finals, but Loasu is, I think he's 9, 10, or 11. I got him as a, high All-American possibly. But Nickel looked almost, I got to say, he just looked stronger to me, looking at his body. So he never did any weight training growing up. He did a lot of speed and dynamic stuff with his dad. But he looks like a force. Too bad we didn't get to see the Kent State Showdown 2 weeks ago.
With Connell. Yeah, I mean, you say, he didn't look much different than he did last year. We'll touch on that topic when we get up to heavyweight.
Yes.
But he was bigger, but it wasn't like, oh, wow, it looks like he slapped on 20 pounds of muscle or whatever. He just looked like a little more fuller version of himself from last year. I mean, he's always been tall and long, and I guess the weight, it's not real obvious.
It's not. Again, the thing that stuck out, and we'll see as he faces tougher and tougher competitions, competition, was just the strength of his hips. And they just looked a little more powerful to me, but time will tell. Again, worth the price of admission, dynamic power, creative. The weight change has not slowed him down at all as far as getting, oxygen to that weight. So he looked good. Steve Loasu from Drexel took second. We already talked about that. He got majored in the finals. He won close all the way through. Steve's up a weight this year from 84. Well, he had a red shirt last year, right? Red shirt last year, put on some size, and, I would look for him to, make some noise, EIWAs, and I know the kid from Cornell is out right now, Darmstadt. They had a fairly close match in the duel. I think it was maybe not as close at the championships, but he looks big and he's filled out. He needs some more dynamic movement. If you ever get to watch his little pre-match ritual with his coaches, it's pretty funny. A little egg sandwich going on there. Another kid that I was impressed with was Diabe from App State. Felt like he needed a couple more techniques and maybe some improved angles from neutral. But he is going to be another guy from App State that I'm not sure kids are going to want to wrestle the opening round of nationals, because he's a physical guy and wasn't afraid to compete with anybody. Lost a tight match to Owasso.
That was it. 97. It was one of the smaller weights. Wasn't a big weight class. Some of the guys had a bye to the quarter, so not a lot to say there.
Going up to 285, we had an anticipated matchup. We weren't sure what it was going to be, but with the seating committee, Neville's and Kasser were on the same side of the bracket, and Drexel's Joey Goodhart was the 3 seed. 2 seed, I mean. Yeah. And Goodhart also took a red shirt last year. Neville's, what were there, 7 guys in here? He had a bye opening round, beat a kid from Ryder, I think, opening round with a tech fall. He's a bigger heavyweight. The thing that surprised me about Neville's is that he just doesn't seem like he's gotten as big physically as some of the other guys as far as muscle goes in that room.
Yeah, body-wise, he looks the same as he did when he walked in 4 or 5 years ago. Just kind of a big guy, just all around big.
Someone you couldn't confuse with last year was, Kasser. I mean, he is big guy. I mean, his frame looks like he could put on a lot more weight because he's ripped for a heavyweight,
Yeah,
right?
it's one of those. It's like, how did he make 97 last year when you see what he looks like this year? It just looks huge.
Yep. So, and Goodhart, he had a fall opening match, 2 falls, I think. Looked aggressive for Drexel. Won a closer match against App State in the semifinals. And then we got to see the Neville's and Kasser match in the semis. Jamie, you were filming that while I was on the other mat. I was looking over. Tell me what you thought.
Kasser just won all the way around. I mean, he looks explosive on his feet. He got that high crotch a couple times. He got a blast double at least once. If he can do that to Neville's, who was top 5 last year and was ranked top 4 coming in, there's no reason he can't do that to any of the other bigger heavyweights. Now, some of the others, younger, smaller, maybe might be harder, but he seems to have some of that same explosiveness and power that he had at 97, similar to when he beat Colin Moore. I mean, he just looked good. I don't know if we saw him on bottom at all. He rode a little bit with Neville's. He was able to ride him, but again, he's another one that he could be final potential finalist. Yeah. I mean, he looked good.
Looked good. I was peeking over during that match, and he looked like he won some scrambles. These guys have to be seeing each other in the room practicing, and he was able to get a number of scrambles, I thought, with Neville's, and then with Goodhart as well. And last year, I think in the Ohio State match with Moore, he was not quite as confident in his scrambling ability. Again, this guy has not mentally been down. He was up. He could easily have been bummed out over the last few years, not making that lineup.
Not being healthy.
Exactly. So 2 things. One, he told me he's looking forward. He's pretty sure he's going to get another year. He thinks the case is really strong. And, but he's just positive, strong, quick, explosive. I'm not sure. I'm just guessing he worked on scrambles. He looked dynamic, not just from neutral, but from maybe it was top, maybe it was rolling around on some attacks. But I look forward to it. He's got Stoll ahead of him right now, and probably, I'd put Gable Stevenson as the favorite. But you got to figure that, with some work, Kasser is going to be, a high All-American, and he is dynamic. His shots looked as dynamic as Stevenson's to me. So if he can get in on those things, I can't wait to see that match. Does Penn State wrestle Minnesota?
I'd have to look. Off the top of my head,
I'll go on. Let me just go back to Goodhart. Goodhart, bonus. Then tight match versus App State. Got into the finals, and he got majored by Kasser. Goodhart is, he's going to be somebody who's, in that bubble for Drexel. If he's getting better, he's going to be scoring some points for Drexel at nationals. He's working out with Wasu, I assume, who is bigger than Coach Zach Schaefer, and could easily be around the 12 guy. Drexel is looking for their first All-American. Can Wasu or Goodhart or even Jarrell get into that mix this year? Something to keep an eye on. And then Neville's. I am sure that this match, or the position is not solidified, and we're going to see Neville's wrestling at the scuffle. But based on this tournament, I got to say, I don't think it's that close.
No. They do not wrestle Minnesota this year, unfortunately. And I don't think Minnesota's going to the scuffle. They were doing the South Beach thing.
Yeah, that's right.
So we might not see them till Big Ten, but it's funny you were saying about with Kasser thinking he's going to get the medical red shirt. The rumor was that it was going to be that Neville might get it. And I'm wondering how him wrestling, that to me it feels like that hurts his case.
Yeah.
Because he's recovering from surgery over the summer, but he did miss half his sophomore year, or most of his sophomore year when Johnson filled in. So I guess that would be the year they're probably applying for.
I think so. I mean, they're giving them away like M&Ms these days. I mean, this is just the NCAA not thinking straight. You gotta change the eligibility rules. You get 4 postseasons, and maybe you limit it at 8 seasons or 6 seasons if you can prove hardship. But stop giving them away like candy to some people, and just make it clear and simple. Take the judgment out of it, and let them say, hey, that's it, 4 postseasons.
Right. That was Gary Colon put that idea out on Twitter.
Oh,
Dude, literally.
Smart kid.
Yeah. He was like, you get 4 postseasons because college football just put a rule change in that you can play up to 4 games and not lose your red shirt.
Right.
So he was like, wrestling the number of competitions and all that's a little different, but just give them 4 postseasons.
Yeah.
If you want to wrestle this match or that, doesn't matter. You got 4 postseasons to wrestle in 5 or 6 years, like you said, cap it.
Yeah.
Call it a day.
And it addresses so many things. At a big duel, no one wants to see a weight forfeited because you don't want to pull someone out of red shirt.
Right.
All right? And it gives someone a taste of the big time while they may be in red shirt. So there are so many good things about it. And, control for control's sake is bull poop. So let go of it and let's make some smart choices here, NCAA.
Absolutely.
Hey, wrapping up, the only other thing I have, do you have anything else, 285?
Nope, 285 was the Kasser show.
Kasser show. So to me, I've been going to the Keystone Classic for years. This is the least amount of kids I've ever had wrestling that thing that I've coached in the past. Shout out to you, Emmett. But I hope that Coach Rena from Penn starts building it back up. A few years ago, we would have Northwestern, Indiana, Pitt, and a few other top schools, and it was awesome. I mean, having 30, I think they had 30 teams one year. That might be a little big for an early season tournament.
One day, no less.
Yeah, one day. But bringing in a few other top schools, and I know Drexel and Penn are looking like they're on the rise, and even Ryder. But you get a couple more schools that are local, whether it's Maryland or even Pitt or Clarion or Lock Haven. Just makes it it's like a magnet in steel. Just draws more people. So I don't know if Penn State is locked into a contract with them. I'm pretty sure that Cale and maybe Cody are pretty tight with Brandon Slay through the senior level stuff.
Penn State's always spoken very highly of the event. They like the event. I think they seem to get some exception to the number of wrestlers they could enter.
Right.
So I used to think you could only bring 15 to an event like this, and they had close to 20 guys in the brackets.
Yeah, and so the one guy that we were expecting, we didn't see Mason Manville. No show. Heard some stuff. We'll see what happens there. And if there's one team getting that kind of special treatment, I'm glad it was Penn State because we got to see some good stuff there. But I'm hoping Coach Rena keeps building it up. The tournament. The other thing that we didn't talk about was there was a Richard Perry sighting there, and Richard's been through a lot of trauma. If you don't know his story, he got pretty big trauma to his head, and looks like he's on the fast track. And one of the things about Perry, besides coming back, is I dig about this guy is he's peaked at the senior level. He's never a state champion. Was he a one-time All-American or a no-time All-American?
He was a one-time qualifier.
One-time qualifier at Bloom, right? And he's on the Team USA. He beat Pat Downey.
He was third on the ladder.
Third, yeah, and he is. So anyway, shout out to Richard Perry. Great to see him coming back. He's at that regional training center there with Coach Slay, and I know they're tight. And I love seeing guys peak later in life, peaking in college, peaking at the senior level, and I'm hoping to talk to him at some point in the next couple months. thoughts? Anything else?
No, Perry's a great story. Like you said, he started, first time he wrestled was junior year in high school. They drug him off the football field or promised he would go out for wrestling if they stopped bugging him.
Right.
But yeah, he did it as a way to stay in shape for football, and turned out that was really the sport for him.
Yeah. Keep it up. All right, guys. Hey, thanks for staying tuned, and we'll talk to you next time.